What's going on, everybody? It's Hunter, the man with the red hair and the red chair. I don't even know if you can see it. It's kind of dim in here, but the reason I wanted to make this video today is because, well, I already tried making it once, and I just kind of rambled for an hour, and it was really depressing because what I wanted to say didn't really come out. So I'm gonna try to make it again, but in case I also don't get to say what I want to say, um, I'll probably merge the two together. But this should be quick because it should be a quick message. And that message is about having great expectations in life.
You're trying to quit, and I'm not gonna let you.
And the only reason I bring it up is because at times when I feel lost and I feel like I have no place in the world, to rephrase, when you're a kid and you're growing up, you go to school. At least most of us do. And you go to school all the way until about the end of high school usually. But that's a long time. I mean, there are 12 grades, and then if you count kindergarten, that's 13. So from the moment you're pretty much sentient, then you're in school and you have a structure to life, which is you basically go to work or school, and then you take some of that work home, and you're focused on getting the highest grades possible and doing the maximum amount of work you can to guarantee you a further placement in a better school later on, college. Your life structure is go to work, come home, rest, and do it all over again until summer hits where you have vacation time and then you go back to work. And it's kind of gets you prepped for, like a real working job. And if you look at the history of the school system, I know it was prepped to get people used to like a factory schedule. You hear a bell, you go to lunch. You hear another bell, lunch is over, you go back to work. You have recess, that's your 15-minute break, just like a, 9 to 5 shift. But I want to talk about what happens after that, which is some people go to college, some people start their own business, some people just go to work, and some people are lost. And I went to college, and now that I'm done with college, which gave me 4 more years of that working schedule, I have a normal job. It's just a regular 9 to 5. But I'm also lost because when I was a kid, the world seemed so much bigger and brighter, and I had great expectations of myself. When someone first asked me what I wanted to do, it was I want to be a firefighter. When I was in first grade, it's the only job I knew was firefighter, policeman, or doctor. And now that I'm 25, going on 26 here, at one point I wanted to be a rapper and a singer, and then another I wanted to be a director, and another I wanted to be a video game designer. And then it came back to screenwriting. I wanted to do movie stuff just without working with a lot of other people. I made that my life path, and I knew it was going to be hard, and it still is, but I kind of figured things would just work out because they always work out for me in a weird way. And now that I'm 25, which, for context, the average age of a really successful person, or at least a successful writer, is 43. I've still got a ways to go. But now that I don't have school commanding my life, I feel lost. Like I don't know what to do with all the dead time around me. Like I still work on stuff, but it feels like it's at a snail's pace because there's technically, not even technically, but in my head, logically, there's 20 years on the clock until I should be considered successful, which means in between those 20 years, what am I going to do? Am I going to work really hard? Am I going to grind it out? Am I going to just sit back and hope that, God reaches out of the sky and touches me with his golden finger and I become famous? I mean, I don't know. 20 years is a lot you can do. And I look back and I go, 20 years ago, what did I do with the last 20 years? Like 20 years ago, I was 6. So I've done a lot with the last 20 years. I learned to write. I learned to have confidence. I learned to work out. I learned how to jog properly instead of stomping on my heels. I learned how to paint miniatures. I learned how to draw. I learned, it's weird when you look back and you think what you learned. I learned math. I learned science. I learned how to make your own ice cream, how to cook. There's a million things I learned in the last 20 years. So looking forward at the age I am now, with the brain I have now, I look back and I'm like, well, that was just developmental time. That was bullshit, you know? Like, yeah, that's the tutorial of life.
We made it. I can't believe we made it.
Son, we just crossed the street. Let's not throw a party till we're out of the city.
And I looked at life as a video game because I was talking to my friend about this a couple days ago. And if you look at life as a video game, all that stuff in the beginning is like we could call it game one, or we could call it the tutorial. Like the first 21 years of your life until you hit that max adult level of hitting the free roam part is all tutorial. It's just getting your character leveled up, getting the basic skills you need. These are those intro plot points of the story where, you know, in Arkham City, you're getting the different gadgets and stuff, and in Cyberpunk, where you're acquiring your basic skills and learning how to stealth, and it's all of that. That's the first 21 years of your life. And then after that point, you become a fully fledged adult, and then you hit the free roam phase. And there's still a main story out there, but there's also a bajillion side quests out there. And some of those side quests can turn into main stories. And it's up to you to find your main story. And I guess that's what I'm struggling with right now, is I'm looking at my game of life and looking out into the open world and trying to figure out where to go. And I have this vast map, this vast world map of where I can go and all these unexplored areas. And it's a little daunting at times when you're finally in the driver's seat, because there's just so much content out there of what I can do with my life. You know, 20 years ago, I was a kid. And in those 20 years, I became a fully fledged adult with a lot of different skills, a lot of unique things. In another 20 years, if I wanted to, if I had all the time and money in the world, I could reinvent myself probably, and I could do it again and just become someone completely different. But most of us get, you know, and this is where I like to call the daily tasks of life. As you get older, and when you reach the full game of being an adult, you get your daily tasks, which is, and they come at different times, but it's your daily tasks you got to log in for. Even if you don't want to play the game, if you don't want to show up and you don't want to go out and join the main story or pick up a new side quest or complete a side quest you're already following, you gotta do the dailies. Do the laundry, clean your room, do the dishes, pay the bills, go to work. Work for some, maybe just a daily task, you know, that's not part of your main story. That's just where your character is resting right now. Like in GTA, when you switch characters and goes doo, 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 and you go outside of the city and then it comes back in, you see what your guy's doing. It's like, yeah, wasn't anything crazy. They don't really drop you in the middle of a gunfight ever. It's just, it's at work. It's just clocked out in his head, you know. And that's kind of why I wanted to make this video. And I want to call it Great Expectations, because it reminds me of that Spider-Man thing where he's like, spray paints that thing, like, no expectations.
Whoa.
Wow.
Is it too crazy?
No, man.
And not to say you shouldn't have great expectations, because I think they're a great motivator to light a fire under your ass to get going and go do something. But I think if you think way too highly of yourself, and if you pigeonhole yourself into one thing, like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I have to do. This is what I have to be successful with. I know a lot of people, successful people, say like, oh, I knew that this is what I had to do. Like, if I just went balls to the wall and gave myself no other options, it would work out. And for some, it does. And for some, sometimes that's good. Starving yourself out, you know, putting yourself in extreme circumstances where like, this has to work or I'm done with life and the whole game is over. For some, it works and it can be a great motivator. But you also have to account for the some that it didn't work. I mean, I can guarantee you right now, if you want to be a musician or a director or a screenwriter, there are guys over that gave up everything in their life because they thought that, like, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I want to do. I'm super passionate about this. And they're probably still over there, and they've probably been doing it 10 years. I know that's depressing, but it's just, if you look at the mass scale, it's like, there's no guarantees in life. And there's no guarantee anything works out. And this is by no means I'm trying to discourage you, but I'm actually trying to do the opposite. Because for me, when I put expectations on myself, I try and meet them. And I hate letting myself down. And when things don't work out, and I fail, failure's great. You learn from failure. However, I also hate to fail, because when you fail, you feel disappointed that you didn't do enough. And you start to think, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. If I had just done this, and it's like, it doesn't matter, it's in the past. It's already gone. You can look at it retrospectively to learn from it, but you can't go back and change it. And that's all a part of the game. And I guess what I'm meaning to say is, having great expectations for yourself is great. You should have a peak vision of yourself that you're looking for. But don't enforce it so hard that when it doesn't happen, you feel like you fell short. Because the truth is, I mean, the only prizes that there are in life, none of it really matters, and you can't take any of it with you. So the only prizes you're going to get are the ones that you value yourself. And for me, having no expectations at all at a certain point, and not that I'm not striving for greatness, I am, but not holding myself to that standard, that I am not valued by how many people look at my stuff, or how many people know who I am, or how many people buy my things, or how many people, support me and love me, and how rich I am. Those are no longer my success factors of my expectations for myself. Truthfully, I find comfort in knowing that 99.999% of us are never going to be remembered. And we're never going to be anything supremely amazing in the world's grand view, None of us are going to be, 99.999% of us are never going to be Michael Jackson. Or on that level. A lot of us, not none of us, but because there are, some do get lucky, but getting on that level, that's a crapshoot and a half. It's just, if you play your cards right and you were dealt the right cards to begin with, if you use them right, you can ascend to that level. But most of us are going to be just normal people, living normal lives. And if you can find the happiness knowing that if no one's watching you and no one really gives a shit what you're doing with your life and you're not being observed by the world's eye, I think it's great, because then you have the freedom to do whatever you want.
Gentlemen, welcome to Stratton Oakmont. We're a new company with a new name. A company that our clients can believe in.
You can pick up whatever side quests you want. You can explore whatever storyline you want in your game. And, if you just want to clock in and show up for the dailies, you can. But like any game, if you just do the dailies, you're never going to level up and you're never going to progress to the story. So go out there and adventure. You can, expect the best and get the worst. You can also expect the worst and get the best, or you can expect nothing at all and just go out there and forge your path, man. Go out there and have fun. That's what I'm trying to do with my life this year. The tutorial is over, and the extended tutorial of college is over. So now I'm out here, and I'm 2 years out? Almost 2 years? No, like a year and a half. No, not even that. I'm literally almost a year out. I'm a year out of school, and my first year, all I did was smoke a lot of weed and bank on the opportunities that I thought I had. And then some of them fell through, and, I woke up, quit, and I was like, okay, I got to get off my ass and go do something now. So now I decided to do this. I decided to do YouTube, and I'm gonna forge my path here online for a while. Last thing I'll say, day by day, you didn't build yourself overnight. You didn't get to where you were a year ago or 2 years ago. For who you are right now, the last however many years you've been alive was a product of that. So looking forward, if I look back 5 years, I was 20. I was still at community college. If I go another 5 years back, I was 15. That's 10 years right there. From 15 to now, a lot of drastic changes have happened in my life of who I've become. And I know as you get older, the returns are diminishing in terms of how much they affect you usually, but they also don't have to be. At one point, Jeff Bezos didn't have Amazon. And then at one point he did, and it sucked. And now at one point, it's fucking a bajillion-dollar company. So you can do anything with your life. Don't put too much expectations on yourself. You're doing great. And you're going to be amazing. Just keep playing the game. Keep getting out there. Keep going after those side quests. Maybe they'll turn into main storylines. And forge your own path. And whatever age you are now, give it 5 years. Give it 10 years. See what happens. Think about 10 years ago where you were. I'm sure a lot has changed. So you can do it. It's not hard. Just got to show up.